Welcome back to another episode of Momentum. I'm your host, Big Les, joined with Elijah from the Saints podcast. Back again with us, the new co-host of our Momentum show as well. He's just been upgraded from Jersey Flag to first grade. Elijah, what's doing, brother? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad yourself, Liz. Thanks for having me on. My debut wasn't the greatest, made a few drop balls, but I'm glad the coach gave some confidence and faith in me to back it up. So grateful.
All right, brother. All right. Good to hear. Good to hear. Let's get stuck into some big news that obviously got confirmed while we were on a little break there between Tuesday and Thursday. Matty King, he is the New South Wales Blues coach, locked in for the next two seasons, 2027 and 2028. Talk to me. What are your thoughts? Obviously, myself don't know too much about Matt King in regards to the coaching role. I know that he's been at the Roosters for a very long time. He's been in the New South Wales squads for a very long time. So I think that having the experience of sitting under a bunch of different coaches will be a good thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I can't remember who said it on a podcast, but they were like the best players in the NRL don't make the best coaches, and the players that weren't the best make the best coaches. And Matt King as a player wasn't the flashiest player. He was a decent player. I think he'll be a really good coach. I like the 2 year deal, just because I haven't been a big fan of 3 year deals for any for a player for coach. I think the 2 year deal creates a bit of stability, but also a good sample size. So if you lose a series, or if you win a series, you can kind of look further for a further extension. But I really like it, as you said, bro. He's been under Trent Robinson at the Roosters for a while now, so he has experience under a really good coach. Has done an outstanding job with the Blues. And his knowledge of the game is outstanding. If you talk to the past players that's played with him, or coaches, they haven't said a bad thing about Matt King. Like, he's done an outstanding job. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of concern because he hasn't coached first grade, and he doesn't really have any, head coach experience. But I have the full, trust and belief that he will come in and do a really good job. So, look, I think he was the right man for the job. Um, I wasn't probably a big fan of when they were talking about Joey as coach, or maybe a board corner. Not that board corner wouldn't do a good job, but I feel like Matt King was the right decision to go with.
Yeah, look, as I was sort of saying at the start, the fact that he's sort of been in a couple of different, under a couple of different coaches with New South Wales, particularly Loz, and I think he's been there since maybe Ricky Stewart as well. So he's been under a couple of different New South Wales coaches, and with that, I guess, obviously seen a bunch of different ways to go about Origin coaching, obviously different ways to select players and what sort of different coaches look at when they're selecting their team. So
Yeah.
with all of that wealth of knowledge there, I think that's going to be really good as well. He'll have a pretty similar staff around him, you'd think. You'd probably say that Boyd Corner would be still one of the assistant coaches. Who the other assistant coach is, that's obviously going to be up to it's going to be obviously up to him, but very exciting. Very, very
Yeah.
exciting. I'm keen to see, I guess, what his game plan is going to be. If it's going to be similar to Loz from Game 3, if it's going to be a completely flipped idea of what the side should look like. I'm excited to see, I guess, what his plan is going to be without knowing too much about his coaching style or anything like that. And, even just having the fact that he's coached in the NRL with the Roosters for a very long time, has a real good idea of the modern game. I think that's going to be pretty good as well, and pretty key to him obviously picking a good side and how we go in the Origin series.
I
Here you
I
go.
actually I want to add in a point. I love what he said at his introductory press conference a few days ago. He was like, if you're a young guy that's eligible to play New South Wales, I'll be looking out for you. I think that for young guys in the NRL, I think that gives them a lot of confidence to play well, and knowing that the New South Wales coach is going to be scouting. So I think that's a little nice statement. I really that really stood out to me in his press conference.
Yeah, well, look, it'll be interesting to see if it is really a blank sheet, and a couple of these younger guys you might see poke their nose through as well. It's going to be very exciting looking into what the side might look like next year. That's obviously a long way away, even though we love Origin. We could talk about it all day. We're going to leave that till next year. Let's get stuck into some predicted sides. So what I've gone and done is I have put together a couple of the international sides, Tonga, Samoa, New Zealand, and Fiji. I want to get your reaction on them, what you think of the teams. Obviously, you've got some stats to throw my way as well. But it is a good idea at this point of the season as we get to the crunch time just before finals and obviously a couple of months out from the World Cup, just to have a look at what these sides might look like. I think that these sides are looking pretty good at the moment, and they'll definitely give Australia a little bit of grief. We'll kick it off with New Zealand, mate. So I've gone and put a 23-man squad together for each of these sides, and then I'll get your reaction as well once I read it out. So for New Zealand, I've got Keano Kinney at fullback. I've got Jermaine Asako and Ronaldo Mulatalo on the wings. Nico Klokstad and Casey McLean in the centres. I've got KP at 6. I've got Jerome Hughes at 7. KP at 6 because Dylan Brown is going to be out, obviously, with that knee injury. Fisher Harris and Moses Leota up front. We've got Phoenix Crossland at 9. Xavier Willison on one back row. Britton Nickera on the other. Aaron Clark 13. And then I've got Marshall King, Nafatu White, Joey Tarpanay, and Isaiah Papali'i on the bench. Got to remember, World Cup, there isn't a 6-man bench. And then for the reserves, I've gone Leo Thompson, Brandon Smith, Tamale Martin, Matsumoko, Kyo Weeks potentially, pending that's what he picks for his eligibility. And then Cody Nikarima. So that's my new Kiwis 23-man squad. What are you thinking? What changes would you make? How are you feeling about it?
Honestly, bro, when you told me pre-recording that you were going to do a predicted side, this is basically 90% of what I would pick. In fact, probably 100%. I love Keano Kinney as a player. I think the way the modern game is trending towards are those, smaller, more agile, faster fullbacks. So I think Keano Kinney has really adapted to, the pace of the NRL. Because that's something a few years ago I was very worried about, was his size. But the way he's adapted to the NRL has been outstanding. Look, I think the whole team is pretty good. Obviously, I'm probably not the biggest fan at Ponga as the 5'8". But then again, look, like it's Ponga and you chuck him in there, he'll make things work. And you can't drop Keano Kinney, as I just said. So I think the whole team is pretty good. There's a player that I wanted to highlight that's really impressed me this season, and that's number 9, Phoenix Crossland. He's been outstanding in a Newcastle side that's been firing and shocked a lot of people this year. His intensity levels are like out of this roof. An elite tackler. There's a stat here. In the past 7 games, he's averaging 50 tackles a game. So he's an absolute workhorse. That's not something where he just makes 50 tackles one game and maybe 20 in the other. This is a consistent work rate from a guy that's been consistently good for Newcastle this season. His footy IQ is really high. I like his service from dummy half. Look, I think he's extremely versatile too. For Newcastle over the years, this is the one year he's pretty solidified himself in one position. He's always been, is he a 5'8"? Is he a lock? Is he, but I really like him at hooker. But when he comes into that New Zealand side, he can cover a multitude of positions. So I really do like that. But yeah, look, he's very tough and resilient, which I love. And you need from a 9 from these days. So look, I'm a big fan of Phoenix Crossland, so that's one player I wanted to highlight.
100%, bro. He has been outstanding this season for Newcastle. Even just the threat of him kicking a 40-20 out of dummy half as well. Like, he's got a great little boot on him too from his experience playing in the halves. So obviously a bit of a threat there for sure. Just Mulatalo, the work rate out of his own end as well for the Sharkies. It's going to be great having him back in this side after the injury last year. Asako, I think you've got to pick there for the goal kicking and obviously just for his finishing ability as well. So it's a good-looking side for New Zealand. It's definitely going to be interesting to see, I guess, if a couple of other players poke their nose through and switch the eligibility over to New Zealand. Hopefully not Ethan Strange, because he seems to be eligible for pretty much everywhere. But yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting to see what this side looks like and if it's pretty similar to this. Samoa, let's get stuck in. So I've got Suafa Longo at fullback. I've got Brian To'o and Greg Marju on the wings. I've got Hamiso, Tabiwai Fido, and Stephen Crichton in the centres. Jerome Luai at 6. I've got Chanel Harris-Tavita at 7, pending he doesn't switch over to New Zealand. Payne Haas and Terrell May up front. I've got Benai Uelu from the Roosters at 9. Jeremiah Nanai and Simi Sasangi in the back row. Celesi Fiketti at 13. And then I've gone Gordon Chan Kum Tong, Tom McKaylee, Junior Paulo, Colony Lemuelu on the bench. My reserves, Murray Taulagi, Klesser Haas from the Titans, Adam Mariota, Anaru Chuala, Blaze Talangi, and Francis Manu Leilua from the Newcastle Knights, who I think will be a smoky to grab a spot on the bench throughout this series as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, I actually didn't realise you have Fiketti starting in the side. We talked about last podcast how you rate him, so you actually have him starting. Talk to me about what you like from Fiketti.
Look, just loved his footy for the Roosters this year. I think that Samoa, the only thing they probably lack in this team as well is just a starting 13. I think that he has the ability to go and do that as well. Got a good little offload on him. A bit of a smaller body, very mobile, good leg speed. I think that he'll suit that 13 role really well. And then obviously you're pairing that with 2 big front rowers that'll probably fatigue throughout this game, especially with the high intensity. You're going up against the best of the best. Having a guy that can play some decent minutes there from 13, I think will be good as well. And then, you've got guys like McKaylee and Junior Paulo on the bench. They'll come on in the front row. You've got Lemuelu there. There's an opportunity for him to play even bigger minutes as well. Move Sasangi into the middle, depending on what you want to do with your side. But yeah, I think Fiketti for me is most suited out of a lot of these guys that are eligible, the most suited to that 13 jersey.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I love Simi Sasangi, but the player I wanted to highlight today isn't in your 17, and I think he should be, and maybe not this World Cup, but down the line I think he's going to be a staple in the side, and that's Francis Manu Leilua. I think he is an absolute dog. Like, he's only played a handful of NRL games, but look, shout out to him, by the way, for contract extension. He's extended to the end of 2028. Would not be surprised if that's further extended to a 10-year deal. I really believe in him. He's an outstanding ball carrier. You watch that Brisbane game and even that Roosters game. The bloke can run the ball. And I think that's something that you need from a second rower. I was very worried with Dylan Lucas going down with the injury about because what Dylan Lucas provides, it's very hard to come by in the NRL side. But the way Francis has filled that void, I guess, I'm very confident that this bloke's going to be in the NRL for a long, long time. His whole running ability too has really stood out to me. And his desperation to fight for every ball. Look, I love Francis Manu Leilua. I probably would have had him in the 17. Who he's over, I'll probably have to look into that probably a bit more. I haven't been that impressed with Terrell May this season, so I'm not, obviously Manu Leilua is not a front rower, but you switch around a couple of positions, maybe for instance Manu Leilua gets a bench position somewhere instead of someone. I still think Terrell May should be in the side, maybe with Tom McKaylee starting instead of, but I think Terrell May, the prospect of the idea, I guess, of what he provides to people probably forget, even I forget sometimes how good he is on his day. But Francis Manu Leilua is probably the only one that I probably would have had in there, maybe on the bench or somewhere. But yeah, shout out Francis Manu Leilua.
He's killing it at the moment. He's playing some good footy, and I think that definitely Ben Gardner would be taking a very close look at him for selection for Samoa, maybe over a Colony Lemuelu on the bench as well, so we can cover a bit of back row. And as I said, you can have an opportunity to bring a Sasangi through the middle as well. Definitely a couple of opportunities for him to get a spot in this side. Tonga. Let's get stuck into Tonga. So I've got Isaiah Iongi at fullback. I've got Paul Alamotti and Tolu Kula on the wings. I've got Katoni Staggs and Rob Toya in the centres. I feel a little bit off about putting Tolu Kula on the wing. I just like him better in the centres or at fullback, but I've got him on the wing just to accommodate for some of the other guys. Junior Ramon, I've got him at 6. Hasn't played a lot of first grade, but he is killing it for Win and Manly. I think there is just a little bit of a buffer and a couple of reasons as to why he's not able to get a spot in the first grade team yet. I think there's a couple of things he's got to check off to get back into the NRL. But Junior Ramon, I think that if there is any chance he gets into this Tongan side, I think he'll be there for sure. Just having an out-and-out number 6, I think, was a big thing for Tonga last year. Probably cost them a couple of games last year in the Pacific Championships as well. Just really hurt their footy. I think they had Iongi at 5'8" and Lehigh at fullback last year, and it didn't look great. So I think you've definitely got to have an out-and-out six there. And, if Amoni's available for selection, I'd pick him along with Isaiah Katoa. Aden Fanua-Blake and Stefano Yuto Ikamanu up front with Sonny Luke at 9. I've got Kulakefu, Fina Fuiaki, and Amole Olakawatu in the back row. Keon Kalamatangi at 13. And then my bench is Jason Taumalolo, Taniela Paseka, Dimitrik Valmanga. And then I'm undecided as if it's going to be Stili Tupanua or if they should be carrying a 14 in Saliva Havili, but they're both in the squad. I've also got Leka Halasima, Siwa Wong, Lehigh Hopewadi, Fanua Pole, and Sifa Talakai in the squad as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, I say this I'll say this with every team that you've picked. There's genuinely about 10 players which I can look at minimum from each side and be like, fine, they're going to be in the NRL for a long, long time. I think your team is really strong. I think that's probably what we're going to look like. That's probably what it will look like when it comes around. I would have Junior Amon in there. Whether or not he does get picked is my biggest concern. But look, I think Amon, his work, his play style with Isaiah Katoa will work really well together. Amon being that running 5'8" and Katoa being that game managing 7, I think they will really, bounce off each other. Pause. I think obviously there's a bit of concern, as you said, with Amon not playing much first grade, but people forget how good he was when he was with the Dragons. Obviously there's some defensive concerns, but I think the edges are around Amon, who will be on the edge. I think it will really protect him. But I'm really excited to see what if Tonga do pick Junior Amon, because I'm very excited to see how he plays. He's been killing it, as you said, for winning Manly Seagulls on his debut. He had a blinder and just consistent performances for them. So I think any NRL team will be lucky to have him. So if I was a coach, I'd definitely be inquiring about Amon. But yeah, for Tonga, I think he'll be a staple in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I think once he gets back into the NRL, especially, he'll definitely be a guy that makes that side quite often. Obviously, he's playing for Wynnum Manly at the moment, which is the Brisbane Broncos feeder club in the Queensland Cup. Not too sure, as I said, what the situation is. I think there's a few boxes he has to check prior to getting back into the NRL and getting into an NRL squad. So we do wish him all the best with that as well. He's playing some outstanding footy. I think he won a Union Grand Final, I'm pretty sure, and then came back in and got signed by Wynnum Manly pretty much straight away mid-season, and he's been carving up ever since. So good stuff there, Junior Ramon. But that's my Tongan side. As I said, didn't really want to put Tolu Kula on the wing. I don't like the prospect of him on the wing, but I think that when you've got Rob Toya, I'd probably go Alamotti, Rob Toya right side. I'd go Tolu Kula, Staggs on the left. I know Staggs doesn't usually play left, but that's just the way that I'd go. I think he's played left for Tonga before. That for me is very dangerous. Having both of those guys on that edge, the play 2 carries, I think it's going to be really good. So I think I'd have all these guys in the back line somewhere. Obviously, there's spots for Lee Hyperwade to maybe jump on the wing for a game, or maybe a couple of other guys that we haven't got in this squad. Daniel Tupou's every chance of being selected again as well. Obviously, he's getting older, but I've given a couple of the younger guys opportunities and lent very heavily into picking a lot of forwards in my squad as well, because Tonga's very strong in its pack. But yeah, look, I think that it'll be interesting to see, I guess, what the side looks like going into this World Cup.
That forward pack for Tonga is genuinely, like, that's outstanding is an understatement. I'll read it out to you in case the viewers forgot who was starting. Aden Fanua-Blake, you got Sonny Luke as a gun 9, in my opinion, has potential to be a gun 9 at least. Utukamanu, Fine Fuiaki, Olakawatu, Koloa Matangi, and then look at this bench, Taumalolo, Paseka, Valmanga, and Tupanua with Halasima, Wang. Like, if Les is correct, because Les is always correct, guys. If this is a fraction of what is previewed in a few months' time, Tonga are going to be a very hard team to beat, in my opinion. And look, yeah, outstanding side. Shout out, Les.
Thanks, mate. Let's get stuck into Fiji. obviously with this one, guys, not very familiar with a couple of the younger players. There was a couple that we did sort of look at last year in Karesi Maya, who I believe is a young middle back rower who played. I think he's been playing in the Villages of Fiji for a couple of their sides, and he's just a gun. There's some really good highlights of him online. So too Colin Mafoa. Both of those guys are freaks. Two young forwards that it'd be awesome to see them get picked up in an NRL squad if they're not already. But let's get stuck into the full team. So we've got Dream Buller at fullback, Jethro Rinakama and Sania Taruva on the wings. I've gone Semi Valame in the centres with Solomone Sokuru from the Tigers, killing it at the moment. Can play a bit of back row, can play a bit of centre. I think has been playing a bit more centre this year in Cup, if I'm correct on that. Not too sure. Definitely will need to look into it, but has the ability to be playing in the centres as well and a pretty solid player. At that, I think he played last year as well, but it was more so in a bench role. And Semi Valame obviously in there. Look, that's probably their one weak point for me is their centres. They probably don't have a lot of centres to pick from. It's a lot more wingers in this squad. But we'll have to wait and see what they do. There might be a couple of guys that we haven't really thought about that are eligible. Kurt Donohue's at 5'8". I've got Latu Finey there at 7. The Finey brothers have just been accepted. Obviously, they've pledged their allegiance to Fiji, and that's been ticked off by the NRL. So Latu Finey's at 7 for me. I think he's a big opportunity for him in this World Cup as well to show the Tigers that he should be their guy. Tui Kamakamitha and Jacob Saifidi up front with Abi Coruscant at 9. Viliami Kikiao and Samuela Finu in the back row. Tane Milne at 13. And then I've got Brandon Wakeham, Sione Finu, Kitione Kautonga from the Parramatta Eels, and then Michael Wonga, who's in the Dolphins squad at the moment. Actually, I think he might have moved to the Cowboys this year. But he was in the Dolphins last year. And then the rest of the squad reads Ronald Phil Tonga, who is at the Cowboys, his winger, really good player. Cressy Maya, who we spoke about. Terrell Callo, who I think still at South Sydney. He might have moved to a different club as well. Kyle Mafoa. And then the young hooker who played last year. I'm going to butcher this name, so please forgive me. Tagi Tuimua, who's in jersey number 22 for us, the young dummy half that played last year. And then Jope Rauk, who I believe was an outside back. I played a bit of centre as well last year as well. So, decent looking squad. As I said, not too familiar with some of the younger guys in regards to where they're currently playing at the moment. So please forgive me on that. The only reason I haven't got that Songi Tuimua in the starting 9 or on the bench is because they're going to have Brandon Wakeham available, and he has played really well at 9 for Manly this year, and Api Coruscant will obviously make himself available for the World Cup, you'd think, unless there's injury there. So those guys will be 9 and 14 for me. Thoughts on the squad?
I think it's as you summed up perfectly, bro. I think some of these players I'm not really familiar with and their play styles, but the players that I do know I really like. Hang on, I just got out of the team. Let me get it back up. A player that's not in there, and you said there's lots of wingers. I still feel like he should be in the squad somewhere, and that's Marcus Evo. When he played for Fiji a couple years back, he was killing, and when he played in the NRL, he was killing. He's killing in England, and I think Sevo should be in there somewhere. I love Kurt Donohue, what he adds to the team. That game against the Dragons, he absolutely killed them. I think he adds a lot of experience too. Look, I think Fiji, my biggest concern is depth and leadership and experience. And I think that's one thing that they lack is NRL experience for most of these guys. So how they adapt to that setting is just a very big question mark. But look, the players that I do know I like. You got Jareen Buller, Rinakama. Shout out Rinakama. I think it was against Canberra. He had a rough day at the office, but apart from that, he's been a really good addition to that Bulldog side. And look, Coruscant is going to do his thing. Tane Milne, shout out him. I think he'll be exactly what Fiji need, that grit and toughness at lock. So look, decent side, man. I like it.
Yeah, look, it's the best that I've sort of been able to put together. As I said, there's a lot of the younger guys who are eligible as well that I just I prioritise the NRL guys that I know first, and obviously the guys coming into the squad, and sort of built around that. Use Zero Tackle for a lot of these as well, so shout out to Zero Tackle, doing good things, massive, massive help when it comes to putting these sides together. Kurt Donohue's going to be the big one, mate, for me. I think that obviously he's been playing a lot of 13 off the bench this year for the Dolphins, and he's really killed it in that role. But I think, when he always comes into Fiji, drops a couple of kilos, plays that 5'8" or halfback role, he absolutely kills it as well. And just how his ball playing's developed this year, and he's doing what Isaiah Katoa does a lot, where he hides the ball behind him and just has a really, really good recognition. Playing in that first receiver role, he's a bit of a freak there. Kurt Donohue having experience playing in the halves and the Knights. I think that he will definitely be a guy that will stand out again in this World Cup. However Fiji do go, I think when they do have good passages of play, it'll be off the back of Kurt Donohue and potentially Latu Whānau. And that's what I sort of said at the start. I hope Latu Whānau has a big one, because I was talking to Matty G the other day on his podcast, shout out to him, and we were both pretty confident that Latu Whānau has the ability to take that 7 jersey next year. Maybe Adam Doueihi moves into more of a 5'8" role. So definitely a big watch this World Cup. Any other notes here for Fiji, mate?
Nah, bro, you got it. Sweet.
Alrighty, well, let's get stuck into this round of footy, brought to you by our good mates at BearBet. Make sure if you're going to have a punt, you do it with BearBet. Unbeatable odds, real Aussie service. Starting off with the Thursday night of footy, and it's rare that a Thursday night is as much of a poo slinger as this has the potential to be, but it is the Gold Coast Titans that taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Look, to be fair, I'm obviously just kidding around when I'm talking about this being a poo slinger, but I do think that this has the potential to be a bit of a tighter game. I think that the Cowboys, depends on how they respond to last week and the performance against the Roosters, obviously conceding 82 points. No team wants to do that. We sort of said it in the review that they're going to hold up the old Men in Black little memory wipe device and wipe this from their memory and start again. What are your thoughts on this game, mate? Where do you sort of see it going for either of these sides?
Look, obviously, very poor performance from both teams last weekend, but obviously Cowboys were the ones that stood out, conceding 82 points. I expect a response from both these teams, and hence why I think it will be a close game. It's in the Gold Coast. Jeremiah Nanai is out, which I think will hurt the Cowboys on the edge, but I think when you lose that drastically and concede 82 points, you're bound to get a response, as I said in the review. Look, it's in the Gold Coast, so maybe Titans could get up for it, but then again, they were in the Gold Coast last week and they got put 50 on them by the Warriors, but Cowboys got put 82 on. This is a very hard game to read, Les. I'm swaying towards the Cowboys just purely based on the fact that, Todd Payton and the coaching staff is absolutely going to get in them and grill them because of that terrible performance. So I think we'll see more of a response from the Cowboys, and I think Cowboys will get up for this one, bro. I think Cowboys will win.
Well, big thing for me, Zane Harrison's obviously out for the Gold Coast Titans. He's going to be out for the season as well. So I think that the Titans, as much as I don't want them to, I think that might hurt their confidence a little bit, and they might start to drop a couple of games towards the back end of the year. For the Cowboys, I think they need to respond to last week. They need to have a big performance. I'm sort of thinking down the realm of Cowboys 13 plus. So that's the way that I'm going to go. Cowboys 13 plus. And then anytime try scorers for our listeners looking to throw a responsible little punt on BearBet. Try scorers. I'm going to go Tom Chester. Have you got one there? Tom, a try scorer for this one?
I'm actually gonna go with the hooker. I think Sonny Luke will crossover. I think you see that from him from dummy half. And see, I think Cowboys needing to make the 8. They're in that fight with the Dogs. I think you'll see a performance from them. I think Sonny Luke will crossover.
If the Titans are to win this one, where does it sort of come from for you? Where do you think that this can be won in a bit of a tight one for the Gold Coast Titans?
I think their forward pack really needs to stand up if they want to win. I expect a big performance from Chris Randall this weekend. Today. And I think if Titans are gonna, get a result out of this, I think it comes from their forward pack and Oliver Pascoe having another great game.
Yep, totally. I agree. I think that Pascoe has been unreal this season. Had a bit of an off night last week. Just the Roosters just gave them no chances they had no chances to run the footy last week. From the Warriors, the Warriors were just really, really strong with their line speed. Made things really hard for the Gold Coast Titans. I was thinking about the Cowboys for a second there. Apologies. But yeah, I think the Cowboys will sort of have to copy and paste that formula that happened against the Roosters to them and what the Warriors did to the Gold Coast Titans last week and just beat them with that really aggressive line speed, solid defense, shutting down guys like Tino and Mo Fodawaker through the middle. Obviously making it really hard for Oliver Pascoe to run the footy and so too Jaden Campbell as well. Like he's a really big threat. They're running the footy as well. So I guess the vice versa of that is Jaden Campbell running the footy, Oliver Pascoe running the footy, second phase opportunities off the back of that. Phil Sami's had some big performances this year. He can obviously thrive off opportunities set up by second phase footy. Brimo's back, that's going to be big as well. I think that's it can go one or two ways. For me, I think it's going to be Cowboys 13 plus, but I think that the Titans can definitely potentially win it in a tight one, depending on the response from the Cowboys from last week. Any final words on this one?
No, I'll give you a score prediction, but I think it'll be a weird one. I think Cowboys are going to win by 7. I think it's going to be a 6-point game, and I think Scott Drinkwater will ensure the win. I'm going to say a scoreline of 21 points to 14. So there you go.
Alrighty, well, we'll have to wait and see. That's a weird and wacky scoreline, but I like it. Hi legends, Big Les here. Just before we get underway, I want to remind you guys of some of the perks that you can get by listening to Momentum. Now, me obviously playing park football and Jakey playing NRL at the highest level, we both know the importance of fueling our bodies correctly and also recovery. That's where Breathe-Ease and On-Track meals come in. Breathe-Ease, you can put the nose strips on or the mouth tape when you're sleeping or training. It can optimize your sessions and also your recovery post-session as well. Getting oxygen all to the right places. Breathe-Ease is essential for your training and you can get it for 10% off with the code MOMENTUM. On-Track meals, it is also the same. On-Track meals, fueling your body properly before and after training. It gets you in the best possible mindset, obviously, for your game. You don't want to be feeling too hungry before kick-off and then obviously after your games as well to repair your muscle fibers and get you set for your following days of training, fueling you for success. 10% off with the code MOMENTUM for both On-Track meals and for Breathe-Ease. Let's get stuck into the episode. Let's get stuck into your Friday night, 6 p.m. We've got the Wars going up against the Penrith Panthers. The Panthers are the favourites at $1.59 to the Warriors at $2.37. For the Warriors, Tane Tuapiki enters the fold. He is on the 6-man bench. Whether he comes in late for Chance and maybe Chance moves into the centres, Lecker back to the back row, I can definitely see that change happening for the Warriors. But I can also just see them lean into this lineup. Chance defensively, his cleanup work is outstanding. And then Lecker killed it in the centres last week as well. So I'm not too sure that the Panthers will give Lecker as many opportunities as he had last week against the Gold Coast Titans. But I think that he'll definitely try and be a bit of a wrecking ball defensively, but also attacking wise as well and give these centres a little bit of grief. For the Panthers, Casey McLean out. We do see Isaac Tungo come into this side. I think it might have been on Strictly Footy. I think I was talking about this with Jared last night. Just giving Isaac Tungo a bit of grief, I think is going to be the key here for the Warriors. But where do you see this game being won or lost for either side?
I think the backlines. I've already spoken about how good the Warriors backline is. And how they strike every game. But Panthers, Isaac Tunga is a good player, but when you lose a guy like Casey McLean, it's kind of hard to fill the void because he's been killing it this year. How long is he out for, Les? Has anything come out about how long he will be absent for?
I don't think it's too long. I think it's probably maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay, so he'll be back for finals. He'll
be back for finals.
I love Jack Cogger remaining in that 6. Obviously, there's no way he would have been dropped after that Canberra performance, but I think he benefits a lot from Nathan Cleary. We've seen that in the past. his play style. Look, this is a very good game, but at a very crap time slot. I did not rate Friday 6 p.m. This honestly deserves, a Friday 8. But Halasima, I think, is gonna have a really good game. I've been tossing and turning over the past couple of days who I'm gonna pick, but look, I think both forward packs are outstanding. For the Warriors, James Fisher-Harris and Barnett leading from the front, and Wade Egan's really impressed me this year. And with the Panthers, look, I've spoken very highly, even on the Saints podcast, about how much I like Lindsay Smith. I think his versatility and his pressure that he puts under the defense. I think he's due for a good game. Look, in terms of how I think that game is gonna go, I'm gonna go Penrith. I just think Penrith have too much strike power and too much brute force. I think Cleary is gonna have a good game. I'm gonna say Panthers, but I will say in a very close game, I'll say Panthers by 2. I'll give you a try score too. I think I'll give one you from the Warriors. I think Chance, if he plays, he crosses over. I think Chance will get a meaty.
I do like the Chance shout. It's a really good pick. I think he's been really good the last couple of weeks. In particular, last week at fullback, he was very silky, which he has sort of been this year when he's had the chance at fullback. And I think just as well, as I said, his cleanup work as well, saving tries. I think that he can be a real big factor in maybe them getting a 1-12 win, and that's the way I'm going in this game. I'm going Warriors 1-12. I'm going to take him to get the job done here in a very tight one. And then anytime try scorers, I'm probably going to go for... I am going to take... Give me Jacob Laban. I like Jacob Laban. I think he's been in some really good form for the Warriors. I can just see him off a Tamale Martin short ball going through. Obviously, on that left defence of the Penrith Panthers, as I said, they're going to pepper Isaac Tungo. I think the key is just going to make him make 20-plus tackles. I think that's going to be the key for the Warriors, and I think Isaac Tungo might get a bit of special treatment in the form of big back rowers running at him and a couple of centres running at him as well. So I think that's the way that this game is going to go. I think it's going to be very tight. I think that the absence of Dylan Edwards at the back there at fullback, a couple of guys out, I think that the Warriors have a real opportunity to take this one by the scruff of the neck. But I also think that the Panthers, like Nathan Cleary, can have another blinder. Him and Cogger can play some good footy, defensively shore up their edges. I think that it can also go the other way where the Panthers make a bit of a statement here against the Warriors. I just feel like, I don't know, I've got a little bit of a feeling that the Warriors get a 1-12 win and they make a statement themselves saying, hey, we're here for the fight too. We're a chance at being in the top 4 and staying in the top 4, going into finals, which they're currently 3rd at the moment. So that's the way I'm going. Just did a bit of research too, by the way, and there's a pretty grim little photo on NRL Physio for Casey McLean. It's a hand fracture, so it's 3 to 6 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, so that one's going to be a bit of a rough one for the Panthers. He's been pretty unlucky with injury, to be fair, this year. He's had a couple of little injuries, quad. He's done a couple of little... he had a couple of bumps and bruises throughout the year. Casey McLean, obviously State of Origin, had that little quad strain. He's had some ankle issues throughout the year as well. So, wishing Casey all the very best. As I said, that photo on NRL Physio doesn't look too grand, but hopefully he can get back before finals, and obviously during that final series, he'll be very key for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Friday 8 p.m, the Roosters are taking on the Doggies for the Chookies. We don't see too many changes. We do see Billy Smith come in on the wing. We see... What else is there changes-wise for the Chookies? I don't think there's too much. Oh, Lindsay Collins is back, which is good to see. Egan Butcher, Nat Butcher on the bench. That is pretty much it there for the Roosters, just off the old eye test. For the Bulldogs, Bronson Sherry joins the bench. We also see Jake Turpin join the 6-man bench as well. And Silly Tupanua is back on the bench too, which is going to be massive for them in terms of the impact. Talk to me about where this game is won and lost for either side.
Yeah, quietly, I feel like Cody Ramsey's too good to be, 18th man every single game. I know he came on last, but that was a once in a million shot. They were leading 48-6. I think he should be in there somewhere. Where he is, I'm not too sure. But look, one thing that's really impressed me from the Dogs has been their line speed and their intensity. The intensity has gone off the roof the past probably month or two. Um, I really like the inclusion of Billy Smith. I really do. Look, I don't know why I'm getting this feeling. I think Roosters are going to put on an absolute, show on tomorrow night. I think Roosters 13 plus. Um, I think I really like Nafahu White, and I think if Roosters are going to win, which I think they will, I think their forward pack, especially their front row, him and Spencer Leniu, need to be on their game because, the Bulldogs, their mobile forward pack has really impressed me too. And Kikau, ever since he's come back, he's added a lot of, things that the Dogs have been missing in terms of intensity, in terms of class on the edges. So I think Roosters win, and I think they win well, bro.
I'm the opposite, mate. I think that the Roosters will win for sure, but I think they'll win 1-12. I think that the big thing you talked about there, which sort of has me more in the 1-12 bracket, is the line speed of the Dogs. I think that is going to be a huge factor to play in this game. I know the Roosters had a big win last week. I wouldn't look too far deep into that. I think that game was more... It wasn't a fluke, but I don't think Roosters are going to be winning by 13 plus and those sort of margins, every week. But then again, the Dolphins went on that incredible run last year, won by 50 points in like 3 straight games, and we never thought that was going to happen either. So it definitely has the potential to happen. I just don't think it will with the Roosters. And the big thing for me that's going to hurt the Roosters, particularly if the Dogs are really good with their line speed and really pressuring up the halves, is going to be the discipline. Usually when the Roosters play frustrated footy, that comes in the form of we need to score in every set. We need to score in every play. It leads to errors, and I think that has the potential of happening, particularly in the first half of this game. We've seen a couple of performances this year where the Roosters get frustrated in the first half. They try to score off every play, and then the second half is when they really turn it around. DCE takes a little bit more of the reins from the organising perspective, and Sam Walker attacks the game, and things really start to work out for the Roosters, and they get tight wins and win dirty. So I think that this will be one of those games. We saw it against the Newcastle Knights a couple of weeks ago for the Roosters. It was that sort of game. I think we'll see that sort of performance here from the Roosters. I think that a lot of people, even though I'm thinking this will be a loss for the Dogs, I almost feel like even if it is a loss, if the Roosters have to win ugly to get the win over the Dogs, that fills me with more confidence in the Bulldogs as well going into finals. I think that if the Dogs really make the Roosters work for it, I think the Dogs will definitely be in the 8 by the end of the season. They're obviously sitting in 8th at the moment. Obviously, if they win, that's going to be even more of a case in their favour, but I don't think they win this game. I think they either I think they either lose in a tight one and make the Roosters really fight for it, or they get pumped like you're saying. I think it's going to be the first one. I think it'll be Roosters 1-12, and then anytime try scorers, I'm probably going to go the way of the man that we were talking about a little bit earlier, because I just have a little bit of a feeling in my loins that Celeste Fiketti goes over in this one, getting a bit of value for the punters there via momentum. I'm sure that one will go very nicely with the Roosters 1-12. Celeste Fiketti on the edge. I think he'll play close to the full game there as well. Interesting that they've moved Nat Butcher out of that side. I think it's more of a defensive sort of thing that they've maybe picked up on. And Nat Butcher's been incredible through the middle as well, playing big minutes this season for the Roosters. So I think that they've looked at that as well. Fiketti's a gun. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out a limb and say if Bulldogs don't win this game against Roosters, I don't think they make the 8. Because I'm looking at their run home. They're versus Rabbits, and Latrell Mitchell's gonna come back that game. I see that as a loss. I might be biased. I think Dragons beat the Dogs. I might be biased. I think Dragons will absolutely get up against, that game in Vegas. Pisses me off and will piss a lot of players off. I think Dragons beat. I think the Bulldogs. The Panthers, I've got a question mark around it. Because Panthers, we don't know if they're going to be playing their full strength team depending on their results. If they're, solidify their spot as the minor premiers. And the Broncos, I think the Bulldogs will beat the Broncos. But they're gonna need at least 3 wins, and if they lose against the Roosters, I just don't see how they make the 8. Um, I was very last year when Hugo Savala he played a couple games last year at center, and this year more prominent role at center. I was very very skeptical, but he's really impressed me. I think he's shown glimpses of what he can do. For the Dogs, quietly, Satili Tupanor coming back is a very big in against his former team. But yeah, look, I think Roosters are going to be too good. When I say 13 plus, I don't think it's going to be anything by 70. But I do think you're going to see maybe a 16, 20 point win. Um, for a try scorer, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Rob Toyer. I think he's gonna cross over. So I think Roosters will win. I'll say by 20. I think Rob Toyer will cross over.
I don't mind it, mate. I don't mind it. I'm going to go Roosters 1-12 with my man Feketi. I think that's the value finder via momentum. I think that's the way to go if you are going to have a punt on this game. But I think the better way to go is to punt responsibly, obviously. Let's get stuck into your Saturday night. 3 p.m, we've got the Storm taking on the Manly Seagulls. This game is always a grudge match, Elijah. It's always a game of real high intensity, just going after each other. For the Melbourne Storm, a couple of ins. Munster, he comes into the side. We obviously see Moali as well enter the frame as well via the bench. So David Moali's back in. We also see any other big changes here. Jack Howarth's back. As well in the centres. I think that's pretty much it. Alec McDonald and Jai Bowden drop out. So the bench for the Melbourne Storm, Trent Tolau, Sean Bloor, David Moali, Angus Hinchy, who was good last week, Joe Chan, and Jack Hetherington. For the Manly Seagulls, we do see Ben Travojevic drop out. We do see Kobe Hetherington drop out. So both of those guys out. I think that's big. Kobe Hetherington off the bench has been really good for Manly. So I think that'll be a pretty solid out. We do see Fletcher Baker join the bench. Corey Waddell is also in the frame here via the bench. Is Corey Waddell on the bench? No, he's starting in the back row. There you go. Taking Ben Travojevic's spot. Hugo Hart. He's in the reserves. I think there's a big chance that they bring him in. I love him, as a young player coming through. I think that he offers a lot. Jackson Sherab's obviously on the bench as well, former Dragon there. I think that's pretty much it, though. Brandon Wakeham's also back. He comes in at 9, and Simkin back to the bench as well. For me, mate, I'm looking at this game. I'm looking at the young gun Hayden Watson. I think that's going to go a big way as to which way this game swings. He's been outstanding. We talked about him in the review as well. Really good player. I think that this game will sort of lean on how he plays. What are your thoughts on this one, and what do you think wins this game for either side?
As you said, I love that Hayden Watson maintained that 7 position. He really impressed me. I think something for both teams that they really, if one of these teams are going to win, I think errors and discipline. Mainly in their form slump that they've had, errors have been something that's really stood out to me. It's been errors galore every game, and they're ill-disciplined too, penalties conceded, and the same with Melbourne. Melbourne obviously having a more depleted side. Orn Keeley is someone that's really impressed me in the few handful of games that he's played for Melbourne. I think, look, I think whoever makes less errors wins this game. I think that's something that stood out to me. Melbourne still have a pretty strong forward pack. I love Cooper Clark in there. As I said, Orn Keeley, Trent Liero, Josh King, Taron Wisher at 9, which I like, and Stefano Apra. Look, I think discipline is what's gonna win this game for a team. I'm leaning towards Manly just because they have more to play for. They're coming off a bye. Fosball is still very much alive. They're sitting right now. Let's look at the ladder. They're sitting in 10th, 2 points out of 8. Their for and against is not looking too good, but they're going to have to win this game if they want any chance of making finals. And I think they do. I think they win 1-12, but I think Storm will give them a good run for their money. In terms of try scorers, I'm gonna say an odd one. I'm actually gonna go with It's not really odd, but not the conventional. I think Corey Waddell crosses over. I think you will see a short ball to him, crossover, and I think Manly will win 1-12 with Corey Waddell anytime try scorer. There you go.
Corey Riddell, try scorer. I tell you what, you're definitely finding the value for the punters this afternoon. I'm going to go with Melbourne, mate. I think that I might look like an idiot in the next couple of weeks for this. I think Manly are done. I haven't seen enough from them to sort of say that they are going to make a late push. I feel like they look a little bit dejected in the footy that they're playing the last couple of weeks. I'm going to go the Melbourne Storm. I think that they do get a really tight win here, 1-12. Hayden Watson's going to be the key for me. If he does get pressured in defence, then that's obviously going to be a bit of a watch as well. I think that if he does get pressured in defence in the Melbourne Storm, they probably do make a couple of errors and it does go the way of Manly. But if Hayden Watson does have the freedom, like he did last week, to run the footy, break the line a couple of times and really be dangerous, they get into second phase footy and their backline players start to get a bit more involved and we start to see some more positive signs as well from their middles. Cooper Clark, Oren Keeley. I'd love to see Oren Keeley come into the middle and look for the ball as well. I think that that's going to be something that gets Melbourne a really tight win. They've got a bit of an inexperienced side around the park. Munster really leading this side as the skip. But I think that it will be, for me, it'll be a Melbourne Storm 1-12. Gritty win, maybe even golden point. That's the way that I'm looking at this game. Try scorers, I am going to go with just the way that he runs the footy. I'm going to go for my man Hayden Watson to score a try. I think he does get over the stripe. He has been really good in that last game that he played. He's been good in Cup all year, and he's also killed it in that under-19s Origin game as well. So, very good player, Hayden Watson. I think that he will get over the stripe. So, give me the Storm 1-12 with Hayden Watson to score anytime. That's the way that I see this game going. Let's get stuck deeper into your Super Saturday. We have the Dolphins going up against the Brizzy Broncos. Finns are $1.42 favourites over the Broncos, $2.89. For the Bronx, Renault out. We also see Corey Pakes drop out of the side as well. Billy Walters, he's at 9. We do see Ben Hunt at 14. I would love to see Moser grab that 14 jersey off him, to be fair. Nothing against Ben Hunt. I just feel like he is better as a backup half moving forward. Just haven't liked the games he's come on at 9 or at 13 in the last couple of stretches. Blake Moser, I think, offers more at 9 coming off the bench. So that's the way that I'd probably go. For the Finns, Ray Stone, the try scorer of last week against your Dragons, he's out. We do see a couple of changes here. We do see, let's have a look at the bench. Sebastian Sewer joins the bench. And then just a couple of changes to the reserves. Brian Poinu, obviously the young centre there. Tavita Nafau, Jake Averillo are in the reserves. But other than that, no changes from last week for the mighty Finns. Where do you see the Battle of Brisbane going this week, mate? Talk to me about where it's going to be won or lost for either side.
Honestly, bro, I don't know why I'm getting a feeling that Broncos, they're going to be like, we can't make finals. We might as well make it as hard as we can for our rivals to make the top 4 and rattle their seasons a bit. I'm going to go with Dolphins but I really, really, really think the Dolphins backline will win them the game. Their backline, Herbie Farnworth stood out to me last week against Dragons. I thought Selwyn Colbo for the most part had a good game. Obviously, a few bomb chances you would say. Their pace out the back is something that they'll probably target Brisbane with too. I think I've been on a trend of obscure try scorers, Les. I'm gonna go with Francis Molo. Don't listen to me, punters. I just get a sense. I get a feeling. Do not quote me on it. Do not say I listened to you and I put a bet on. I would not recommend putting a bet on Francis Molo to score. But just know when he does, say you should have put a bet on. Look, I think that backline will really pay dividends, and I think Brisbane won't be good enough. But I do think it'll be 1-12. I think I think Brisbane would want are going to play for something. I think as 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 reigning premier, I think they would want to show their rivals who's still big bro. So I think Dolphins win. I think 1-12. I think Francis Moore anytime.
That is wild. Look, I'm in a similar boat to you. I think that the Broncos will try and make it as hard as possible for the Dolphins to get the job done, but I do see the Dolphins winning, mate. I think that, getting all their guys back, it's a full strength lineup for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Katoa there at 7, Nicarima 6, Hammer, Marshall King, and then Kurt Donahue off the bench. I think that's going to be too much for the Brizzy Broncos. Duffy, I think, is going to be a big watch, obviously, coming in for Renault. A lot of chat in the media around Duffy. Should they be giving him the opportunity to finish the season at 7 and just bringing Renault back for one game towards the back end of the year to send him off, into retirement? But Tom Duffy, whether it's just 1 week, whether it's more, I think that it's a big opportunity to show that he's going to be the 7 next year. So Duffy, I think, is going to be in for a big performance, whether it's a 1-12 loss
Yeah.
or whether it's a potential 1-12 win. I think that Tom Duffy is the man to keep an eye on in this game for a big performance. I also think as well, sending guys like Payne Haas off on the right note too. I think that's going to be the key. That's what the Broncos are going to want to do. For a guy that's, been with them through the spoon times, been with them through the premiership times, those grand finals. I think that Payne Haas, they want to send him off on a good note. So I think the Broncos, they will make it as difficult as possible for the Dolphins, but I'm going to go Dolphins 1-12. And I'm going to go Herbie Farnworth to absolutely grind out a huge performance against his former side. Score a try, maybe even score 2. But I'm going to go nice and conservative. I'm going to say Dolphins 1-12 with Herbie Farnworth to score any time. I think that's the way that this is going to go. Definitely watching the middles as well. That battle's going to be big. Willison back in the middle, along with Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan, is massive. I think that was the one thing that they missed last week when Willison came off with that laceration. They definitely miss Willison's impact coming back onto the field in the middle. I think that it probably lost them the game realistically, or at least went a long way to them not getting the ascendancy they needed at stages in that second half to win that game against the Newcastle Knights. So I think that is going to be big for the Broncos. But yeah, as I said, Dolphins 1-12. Herbie, anytime try scorer. Hammer's probably a good bet as well, but I'm going to go Herbie Farnworth with the Dolphins 1-12. Super Saturday finishes off with the Rabbitohs taking on Parramatta. Tell you what, mate, as a South fan, I've never been more nervous for a game we probably shouldn't lose, but we might. I think that even though the Eels probably played in one of the worst games we've ever seen against the West Tigers last week, I think that they will definitely come out and want to right the wrongs. I think that they will want to come out and have a big performance here. I think you'll probably see Sean Russell come back into this lineup somewhere, whether it's on the wing or in the centres. I think that you'll see him come back, maybe even on the 6-man bench. I think that you will see a big game from Moses, making up for what was probably a really poor performance last week. I think that he'll make it up for it. I think that Sam Rani will have a big game as well. Dylan Walker's going to be a huge out. He's obviously dropping out of the lineup here for Parramatta. I think that impact off the bench is going to be sorely missed. There's a bit more going on behind the scenes with Dylan Walker as well, which we won't get to on the podcast, but hopefully he's back sooner rather than later for them, just with the impact he has at 13. For the Rabbitohs, big ins. Murray, Fafita, Duncan, all coming back into the side. Duncan's obviously playing in the centres, but just his carries and what he can do, break the game open, I think that's a huge inclusion. So too, Dave Fafita. The only criticism I'd have of this Rabbitohs lineup is I'd want to see Tom Fletcher starting with Adam Elliott off the bench. Fletcher's been unreal in the games he's played. The game against the Melbourne Storm is obviously the standout. I'd love to see him get another opportunity starting for the South Sydney Rabbitohs there. But other than that, as I said, it's a game that makes me quite nervous. I'm keen to hear your thoughts. Where is this game won or lost for either side?
Look, I think we're expecting a big performance from Rabbitohs. A disappointing second half from them last week against Cronulla. I really like Matt Duffy. I think he's been outstanding from what we've seen in the Rabbits. Before I get into what's won and lost, I actually want to ask you a question. With Latrell Mitchell coming back next week, what is the go there? With Jai Gray and Duffy, what would you do?
I'd play Jai. I'd play Jai. I think we've missed a little bit of his spark. I think we've also missed a little bit of his, clean-up work defensively. He saved a number of tries for us this year and last year.
Yeah.
As much as I love Dufty, I'm still unsure as to if he's going to be at the club next year. He's still on a development contract as well, Dufty. He's not in the top 30 yet, I don't think. I do think, as much as I love Dufty, I think that Jai Gray's the future.
Yeah.
I know that Wayne wants to keep both of them at the club. And Duffy's been unbelievable with the work that he gets through and the meters that he gets, but I'd still prefer Jai Gray there at fullback and what he offers. So to answer your question, yeah, probably Jaiza for me. I'd even put him back this week, to be completely honest, even without the troll there. I'd potentially put him back this week as well, just with what I've seen from him this year. What about you? Which way would you go there?
Yeah, look, I probably agree with you slightly. Dufty's the meters he makes, something you can't deny. But Jai Gray, it's not like he makes any less. I'd probably sway towards Jai Gray. But I would not be surprised if Wayne goes with. But then I'm actually interested to see what Wayne does. I think he'll lean towards Jai next week, but I will not be surprised if Dufty maintains that spot. In terms of where I think the game is going to go, any team that makes 20 errors loses a game by 30 points. But because they versus Tigers, who are, thank goodness they have their bye this weekend to get 2 points, because I don't see them winning for the rest of the season. But look, I think if the Eels want any chance of winning this game, which I don't think they will, I think Rabbits win and win well, they got to cut the errors out of the game. And I think the Rabbits forward pack is really going to dominate Paras. I love Tavita Totola. I love what David Feeder brings, especially with him coming back. Yeah, look, I don't say much hope for Para in this game. I think Rabbits, although they are missing Latrell, I think they have too much strike power. I think Rabbits win 13 plus for try score. I'm not going to go with the outlandish one. I'm going to go with Campbell Graham to score a double. So there you go. I think Rabbits win 13 plus, and if Para want any chance of winning, I think they're going to have to cut the errors out of the game. But for now, Campbell Graham double, Rabbits 13 plus.
I am going to go with the Rabbitohs 1 to 12, because I genuinely think that there will be a first half where it's a lot more of an even contest than people will give it credit for. The big thing for me is probably going to be the young middles of Parramatta. Jack Williams has been killing it this year, Moretti, and obviously Sam Tuivasa there through the middle. I also think Teakin Brown has been pretty solid the last couple of weeks as well. Saxon Pryke's a good player. Junior Paulo on the bench as well. I think that the middles will definitely make it harder for the Bunnies, just with how much energy these young middles have. And I also think Samrani has been on a bit of a tear of late, so I think that he'll definitely be one to watch. Adokar, Iongi as well, the work that he gets through. And I generally think that Moses would want to turn his footy around as well, because the last game they had against South Sydney was prior to Origin selection, and he had an absolute Barry Crocker. But I think he'll want to turn that around. For the Bunnies, I think that they will get the job done here, and I think they need to if they're serious about being a top 8 side this year. They're 7th at the moment, but there's every chance they drop out the next couple of weeks if they drop a couple of games. So they'll want to be making a bit of a statement here as well. I think, as I said, I'd go with Tom Fletcher starting. I think that might be a change that you see prior to kickoff. But for me, Bunnies 1 to 12, just based off the guys that they're getting back this week. Murray is going to be so key through the middle. Obviously, the way he connects this side and his leg speed is going to be huge for Feeder and Tallis Duncan, obviously, with the game-breaking ability. Bunnies 1 to 12. Tallis, anytime try scorer, is the way that I'll be going in this one. But that Tallis Duncan, I think, going up against, left side, he'll be going up against Penasini. It's going to be a really fun battle to watch as well.
Really cool. It's Indigenous round 2, and Rabbits have a 78% win success rate in the Indigenous round. They always seem up to get it for that fixture. 114, lost 4. I think Rabbits win. Let's do a little stuff for you.
Very good, very good. All right, let's get stuck into the next one, which is the the Raiders. Sorry, the Rabbitohs aren't playing twice this week. The Raiders going up against the Newcastle Knights, 2 p.m. on your Slinger Sunday. But this isn't going to be a slinger. It's going to be a good game. I think that this one, the Newcastle Knights, I think they're going to make a huge statement here up against the Canberra Raiders. I actually think they're going to win 13 plus. I'm going to put it out there early. I think that the Knights will make a big statement here. They've dropped a couple games. Obviously got their first win in 5 games last week, which not many people would have thought, or first win in 4 weeks, I should say. Newcastle will be wanting to get a couple of wins in a row here and make a real good run into finals. I think that's going to come off the back of KP and Fletcher Sharp and what they did last week against the Broncos. And also, that right side attack has been unbelievable. I know the left side is still very good for this Newcastle Knights team, but that right side attack, especially last week against a very compressed defence of the Brisbane Broncos, I think that they will definitely be wanting to work that right side, especially against a bit of a weaker left defence of the Canberra Raiders. So I am going to be going the way of Newcastle 13 plus. Just quickly on the changes, there's nothing really for Newcastle. Harrison Graham comes in at 14. That's pretty much it, though. For the Raiders, we do see Seb Chris drop out of the side. He was supposed to be in the team last week. I think he got ruled out regardless, but he drops out of the of calculations here for the Raiders. Simi Sasangi comes back in. Simi Sasangi got ruled out. Seb Chris did come in. Seb Chris now drops back out and Simi Sasangi back in, obviously, after Simi Sasangi had some hamstring tightness. So that's the change there for the Canberra Raiders. Where do you see this game being won or lost for either side?
I think Simi Sasangi is a beat-in. I think I'm going to go for the upset. I think Canberra Knights do not have a good record up there at GIO. I think Raiders. Their forward pack. I really love Mariota and Zach Hosking. Those edges. I don't have any logic behind it because I was speaking very highly of Phoenix Cross and Emmanuel Law, and the Knights as a whole have really impressed me this season despite their injury concerns. I have no logic behind it. I sense that Canberra are going to get a very big response inside at their home ground after that terrible performance last week against Penrith. I'm expecting Simon Sasangi to have a really good game. I'm going to get him across the line. I think Canberra win 1-12. I think the Raiders back line will also be too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest fan of Jet Stewart on the wing. I just think he's too much of a. But also, yeah. Look, I think Tamale. I know Tamale wasn't the best when he was in the NRL. I feel like he offers more in terms of yardage meters and more attacking flair on the wing. So I'd probably put Tamale in there instead of Jed Stewart. But I think I have no analytical stats for you to why Raiders win. I don't have any logic behind it. I just get a sense inside my loins, like Les said. I think Canberra win 1-12, bro.
I just don't know. I think the Knights are going to make a big statement here. I think that they are going to want to make a huge surge to finals. Francis Manu-Leilua, obviously there as well, had a huge game against Brisbane. The tackle on Ben Tolty and then the cutout pass, as well as a bunch of other big defensive plays throughout last week's game. And the right side attack of the Newcastle Knights, the left side attack of Newcastle as well is very good. And their middles have been very good, the young pack there at Newcastle. So, Tyson Frizzell's 300th game as well. They'll be up for that. I think that Newcastle will get it done 13 plus. For me, anytime try scorers, I'm going to go with my man KP. He's on a bit of a streak at the moment. I think that he scores a try against Canberra in a big win for them, for the Newcastle Knights. Sorry, where are you looking for try scorers in this one?
So I think Simi Sasangi will cross over for Canberra. I'm gonna pick one for the Knights too. I think Dom Young will cross over. So going very conservative with a centre and a winger, but it makes up for it because I went for Francis Molo. So look, I think I'm due for a few right ones, and I think you can't go wrong with my choices. So yeah.
Alrighty, we'll have to wait and see. We're going head to head here on that game, so we'll see who comes out on top. We'll talk about it a lot.
I was actually very close to tipping Raiders 13 plus. I'm really confident about the Raiders this weekend. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, for the podcast's sake, I'm going Raiders 13 plus. Boom, they're going to win by 14 just so it reaches a 13 plus. I think
All right.
Raiders. I'm gonna go on a limb there. There we go.
All right, we'll wait and see. We'll definitely wait and see. Let's get stuck into the final game of the round, which is the Dragons and the Sharkies. I think that a lot of punters will look at this game from a logical sense and they'll go, look, the Sharks should win this one comfortably. You know, I think you're the only one that knows right now that I'm going a different way. Sharks, Kaeliro out, Talakai out. Obviously, there'll be a couple of changes there. Mawene Hiroti, will jump into the centres. Not Britton Nickera this week. He obviously covered there last week, but he's back in the back row. Mawene Hiroti, is there in the centres. Jesus, you can tell that it's the back end of the podcast, that's for sure. And then, any other changes there for the Sharks? I don't think there is. For the Dragons, Toby Couchman out through the middle. That is going to be a big loss, but Emre Gula's in. We do see Jacob Webster on the bench to make his NRL debut. Talk to me about Jacob Webster. Obviously, a really good young player. Plays like close to 80 minutes in Cup most weeks in the front row. He's an absolute workhorse, an absolute beast. Talk to me about Jacob Webster.
Well, Les, we actually sat in these exact same positions about a week ago before the Dolphins game, and we were speaking about Webster and what he can add to the team next year. And I said I'd give him a crack at the back end of this year, and here we are 1 week later, him making his NRL debut. I think it's very well deserved. As you said, bro, he plays long minutes, so I don't think minutes will be an issue if there's an injury or somewhere. I think his leg drive and his ability to make meters is something that the Dragons really need to, with the absence of Toby Cowson. In terms of one of my biggest concerns and asterisks I kind of have on Dean Young as a coach is his bench rotation. I have not been impressed with his bench rotation in terms of Little's not coming on early enough. I think Little should come on at the 30-minute mark every single game. 10 minutes before half time, the forwards will be a bit fatigued. Come on, makes an impact and plays 50 minutes a game. Josh Kerr and Emre Gula, I'm not the biggest fans of. I feel like a Nick Sturganis, and even a Ryan Hutchinson, he's named the number 22. I feel like those young guys deserve minutes. But yeah, I think Jacob Webster, I'm very happy for him, very excited. I've been watching him for a couple of years now, so very excited to see him play. But yeah, that's my I think Webster will go really well, bro.
We've got some breaking news on the podcast. We're talking about the World Cup, obviously, just before. According to Brent Reid, the Finey brothers are now ineligible for Fiji. The brothers' World Cup bid with Fiji has been denied after failing to provide sufficient documentation to verify their Fijian heritage. That's straight from Brent Reid this morning, or it might have even been yesterday. When did that post come out? Yeah, 18 hours ago, so that was yesterday, but I only just seen it now. Huge blow for Fiji.
That's massive. I was very high when I was looking at that team. Those Fainu brothers could have added. Well, I'm actually shocked that. Wow. Okay, that caught me off guard.
Yeah. I mean, same here. That their side is way better with those guys in the team. Obviously, helps with the depth, but definitely a big blow for Fiji. Hopefully, these guys can sort this out before the World Cup and make sure that they're in the side. Massive blow for Fiji. Look back to the Dragons and the Sharkies. As I said at the start of this little mini preview for this game, I am going a different way. I'm going to the Dragons. I'm going to go the Dragons 1-12. You know as well that I sent you a screenshot of me putting the multi on as well on Bear Bet Responsibly. We're going to go with the Dragons 1-12. I do like the way that they've been playing. I thought that last week against the Dolphins, they did show some positive signs. I like liking King Tonga there at 6. So I am going to
maintaining his spot. By the way, I love him. I love him maintaining his spot. I think he played really well. The attack looked a lot better with him, just quietly.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm going to go the way of the Dragons in this one. It could definitely backfire big time, but I'm going to put it on the podcast. It's going to be my multi for this week for the podcast. It's going to be the Dragons 1-12. with Lycan as a try scorer any time. I like his running game. I loved how him and Kyle Flanagan as a combo as well. Thought they gelled really well. And I also think that, I just feel like they've got a real opportunity to get a good win at Cogra after losing on Old Boys Day there 2 weeks ago. I think that this is a huge opportunity for them to bounce back and get a big win. Ryan Couchman, a big performance I'm expecting. Locko as well, they're through the middle, and then a couple of their bench guys. In Webster, obviously, who's making his NRL debut. I think they'll play up for him as well. So that's the way that I am going to go. Dragons 1-12. Look, as I said, logically, people will look at this game, the way that Hines and Trindle have been playing, and go, the Sharks, with how we're holding them in such a high regard, they should win this game. And I agree. I think they should. And I think they probably will. But I'm going to go with the upset. I've got a little bit of a feeling. That the Dragons do get up at Cogra. The last game at Cogra for the year. I think that they will do it for their fans. So give me the Dragons to win 1-12. With Lycan anytime try scorer. Pick your try scorer, mate, and we'll wrap it up.
Well, I said this on my podcast that's releasing tonight. I said if the Dragons have a really good history the past couple of years, if they verse a good team, they have a really good ability. It's like a superpower to bring their opponents down to their level and make them really, really bad. And we saw that in the first half, in the first meeting against the Sharks that the Dragons played them. The Sharks were terrible. The second half, obviously a different story, but look, as much as I'd be optimistic and delusional to say Dragons win, from a purely tipping standpoint, I just think the Sharks have too much strike power and the Dragons' defense is not going to be able to take it. I think they'll overwhelm them, especially with, I think, their halves, Braden Trindle and Nico Hines. That's going to trump over Lycan Tonga and Kyle Flanagan 10 times out of 10. So I think that those halves are really going to dominate us. I'm going to say Sharks 1-12, not 13+, just because I think Dragons, as you said, at Cogra, I think they'll get up for it. I'm going to go in a bit of a high-scoring one. I'm going to go Sharks 30 to Dragons 20. I think Dragons will get a couple tries, more than they usually do, and I think Sharks, will hit that 30-point mark. So I think Sharks 30 to the Dragons 20. Try scorer. Pick one from both teams. I think Setu 2 crosses over. And for the Sharks, I'm going to go with Nico Hines.
I like it, mate. I like it. Well, look, that's another episode of Momentum done and dusted. A couple of announcements from me before we jet off. Obviously, 10% off with the code Momentum for both Breathe Ease and On Track Meals. Obviously, you would have seen the ad a little bit earlier in the podcast, but when you're leveling up for recovery, whether you're playing rugby league, whether you're heavy training in the gym, or whether you just want to optimize your nutrition in your day-to-day life, I think that On Track Meals is the way to go to do that. Perfect for recovery after hard sessions, but also if you're just trying to get the diet back on track, get that summer bod before the summer hits later in the season. I think that is the way to go. And Breathe Ease definitely helps with the recovery as well. Even in training, it's good for your sleep. Obviously, you can just get a lot more oxygen into the bloodstream and helps with the recovery. So definitely worth having a little sneak peek at those. And I mean, who doesn't love a little cheeky 10% off of their shopping cart? So On Track Meals and Breathe Ease, 10% off with the code Momentum. We will be calling the Titans and the Cowboys game on Big Les's League tonight at 7:30. We'll be jumping on to do a little bit of a mini preview. And then we'll obviously get stuck into the footy once it kicks off. I think it's 7:50 tonight. So stay tuned for that. And then also special guests for the review next week. We're not going to reveal who that is yet, but Elijah, it's a very good one, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. I can't say any much else to reveal it, but he's a very good guest.
Alrighty, we'll see you then.